tonight we are having a fireside chat with the topic of the power of autonomous communities um, to drive open innovations. And our guest tonight is actually Eunielle, who is the co-founder of CanLab. So for those of you, I don't know whether are we able to give her a round of applause, but yes, a round of applause to welcome Eunielle. Hello, Eunielle.
Hi, hi,
It's a
welcome.
it's a bit weird to do a virtual event that we have to welcome you with with no applause, but we have to use like right. Okay, so yeah, Eunielle. So before we start, let me have a quick introduction to the audience as well. So Eunielle is an entrepreneur and change maker, building the future through tech innovations. Prior to CanLab, she oversaw business strategy and digital transformation for various sectors such as mobile gaming, consumer applications, and blockchain technology as a serial entrepreneur after her first professional experience in Paprika Lab, acquired by Gree. So, Eunielle, how are you today?
I'm feeling good. How about
Yeah,
you? Wake up.
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
you are actually based in Korea, am I correct?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
now in Seoul. Yeah,
You are now in Seoul.
yeah.
How's the situation over in Seoul?
Well, it's pretty well under control right now. I mean, we had a little bit of a reappearances of COVID-19, but yeah, still it's very manageable. So I every everything is getting back to normal.
Okay, all right. So before we dig into the questions for the fireside chat tonight, right? So for those who are now tuning in our Zoom meeting room, all right, feel free to use the chat button if you do have any questions to ask Eunielle during our Q&A session. Or for those who are actually tuning in from our Facebook page, we are also live now. We are streaming live on Facebook. So for those who are actually streaming through the Facebook, please write your questions onto the comment box if you do have any questions. So we are going to start now. So yes, I will be the host and also the moderator for this fireside chat tonight. And my name is Malcolm, and I'm from Startup Grind Sarawak. So Eunielle, would you be kind enough to share a little bit more about yourself, like where you're from? Besides, we know that you are now in Seoul, but where are you originally from, right? And a little bit about what you have, what have you done previously, like your job or which area were
Sure.
you before CanLab?
All right. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Eunielle. And I'm originally from Korea, but I'm more like an international person. So I, I born and grew up in Korea, but I worked with a lot of international friends and companies. So it's been like over a decade. I work in this startup scene, um, Korea and uh, like for the U.S. counters and some of the other like global nations to like as a partner or as a co-founding member or sometimes as an entrepreneur. So I've been working from I started this work from mobile gaming sector as a marketer, global marketer, and then I get into this overall mobile business. Like it was back then, it was the time when iPhone just came out, so all the like mobile service bubbles were created. So that time I experienced it, the convergence from the PC uh, web era to the mobile era,
Right.
and yes, yeah, my core career for over 5 to 6 years. And then I faced this blockchain opportunities. And that is the another part of my journey. And uh, working with a lot of like crypto enthusiasts, it was really fun that we could uh, imagine a lot of uh, different stories and different businesses and different world even. That actually brought me into this can community alliance network business. So this now I'm dedicated to building this CAM project together with a wonderful team members, um, so that we support this community building experience uh, more easier and more native and organic with the blockchain and other like online technologies.
Right. I think one of your friend that you are working with actually came onto our session, I think 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Songi.
Me.
Yeah. Songi. Yeah. Songi is also from Korea. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so the next question that I would like to ask, like, how did you actually get involved into blockchain? I mean, like, besides, what attracted you into blockchain?
Oh, yeah. It's, well, obviously the freedom, the freedom of being anybody. Like the crypto space has a lot of like autonomous, and also I mean, it's transparent, but also it has anonymous feature, and it's very distributed and autonomous. So the whole concept of the blockchain technology actually got me very exciting, because it sometimes changes all the paradigm of the current businesses. So I see those kind of like paradigm changing uh, nature of the blockchain, and I think this is very uh, a next big thing to democratize all the business or services or organizations. So yeah, that actually drove me into this field.
Wow. Okay. So that is something very interesting. I think what Songi shared the other day as well is about the sharing about DAO. Um,
Right.
yeah. So
Decentralized.
what is it again? Sorry.
Decentralized autonomous organization. Yeah,
That
so it
is like it's a
it's not
different
easy.
it's a different like dimension, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
yeah, sorry.
it's all about the community, and the society as well. So nowadays society is more like a DAO, I think. Individuals have more powers
Mm.
over the authorities, and we all have our independent decision makings and the logics behind and everything. So yeah, the word is getting more, yeah, Taoish, I think.
And from what we understand from your introduction early on, as well as the um, your first professional experience in Paprika Lab, right? So, what is actually what were the ups and downs in your journey at Paprika Lab?
It's kind of far away though, it's like a decade ago, but what I remember is that there's a lot of ups and downs. Um, well, first of all, there was amazing team. So I was always working with the like great people, like great talents, like top tier talents of our not just from Korea, but also like top tier talents from US and other countries. And we had a lot of like achievements, like having like 1 million MAU milestone within just 3 months of the first game launch or things like that. So that kind of like fast growing factor was definitely a great ups for me. And that was my first experience of community power as well.
Mm-hmm.
uh, at that time we didn't actually have a lot of materials or resources to utilize on global marketing, and we were on Facebook, and all of our user base was in the US, especially in North America. So but then it was organically grew through the network of the users, enthusiastic users, and they actually spread the word and they got their friends on, and like that kind of uh, community drive that I first felt. And I think it was the time that I personally believe in the community works.
Right.
And the
Right.
downs, definitely, it was my first career, so I failed on my personal health and stress management, because it was like always 24/7 working mode, almost like three straight years. So that drove a stress related infection disease for me. So I had to have a 1 month of sick leave. But lessons learned. After that, I try to manage my balance, to my energy and time, uh, to work sustainably in the long term.
Right. Besides your health, right?
Mhm.
Is there any downtime for, I mean, during your journey at Paprika Lab, like any challenges that you met, or is there any kind of that you can't really solve?
The challenges for myself was, I was back then. It was my first time working in gaming industry, and I wasn't a fan of games. I didn't do any video games or any online games, so I didn't know any terms of the gaming industry. But then I was at the level of manager, leader, to lead the marketing and to lead some of the business strategies. So I had to learn a lot, and it was very sometimes it's very frustrated, because when you in a board meeting and half of the words you cannot understand. Imagine that, it's very frustrated. But other than that, as a team, I mean, we have some downtimes because of the long development hours, and you know but other than that, yeah, we luckily we were like, um we're in a always like, growing phase, so we didn't have that much of downtimes as a team.
Okay.
Yeah, but like, limited resources always be the key of the, you know downturns. So
Right. Okay. So I think moving on, which where you are now at, which is at Can Lab, right?
mhm.
So what kind of community are you um, actually building, um, like through Can Lab?
Well, yeah, community is actually everywhere. This
Yeah.
little circle is also a community.
Yes.
Startup Grind is also a very big community, and we are always around with different communities, right? So communities are a group of people, the passionate people for a shared value, I think. So yeah, so I think I always working with the community or working for the community. You know, as a marketer or business person, I always engage with the consumer groups or consumer, user communities, and also as a like this software builder and startup entrepreneur, I always engage with startup communities and tech communities, you know. So this is kind of like a core of the lifestyle and core of the workflow, I think.
Right. So, um, what are the what are the challenges in community building? Like besides the some of the good points that you mentioned earlier on. So, what are the
Mm.
challenges in community building? And especially now, we are not able to see and meet each and everyone physically. So, what are the challenges?
Well, always, you know, I think the 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 challenges are two phases. In first of all, the designing the community itself is a challenge. You know, when design the community, um, it's not an easy thing because usually it often goes towards different directions that you never expected in planning. Because you know, if you get a people, you don't know where to go, and you don't know where the ball goes. So the designing part is really challenging. And then even you succeed in design parts, the nurturing the community as a sustainable one is also the next challenge. So, you know, I think the powerful community is the community that grows organically and autonomously with clear shared values so that members pertinaciously collaborate with each other and like, you know, just pursue a shared goal all together. So like, you know, but then it's really hard to keep them actively contributing to the community or participating in the community, especially for a long time. Like you can manage it like for a 1 week or one month, but it's really hard to make the community works for a longer time, like a year or two or even longer. So that is a really a challenging part of building a community because once you think you built the community well, but then it's really hard to continue it. So only with the, you know, very good visions to keep working on this community activities, um, people, I mean, without those good reasons, people will not be participating or will not engage enough. And also the people in the community, they need constant acknowledgement for their contributions. It's their motivation, you know, to
Right.
work voluntarily for the community.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really like nurturing it and keep going it is very challenging part.
Right. So, because our topic tonight is also talking about like building an autonomous community, right? So, I just want to
Mhm.
hear from you. What's your what's your thought about the community building? I mean, building a community as what we are all doing now, and the difference of autonomous community building. So, I mean, is there any difference? I mean, besides the name autonomous, and one is community building, but are both the same, or is there any way of how you define autonomous community building?
Oh yeah, that's a really good point. Well, autonomous community is a community that community itself evolves, and its community itself has all the rights, uh, and the members can control uh, the community uh, with the right power and with the right governance. So it is like, what can I say? If the community is a broader term or a group of people, then the autonomous community is more like a community where the members have all the rights to do something or to pursue something, and also to control themselves.
Right.
So
So, I mean, if I were to understand from you, is that the normal like community building, you still have, I mean, of course, the community leaders or most of the community builders are empowered to lead or to build the community, right? But they will still have
mhm,
some form of leadership or a direction, right? So
yeah,
the autonomous community building is eventually everyone share the same
right,
um,
exactly.
equal rights, and they have, so which means that everyone will have their own sort of direction
Hmm.
rather than just
Yeah.
one or two direction.
Right, right. So that is like very distributed community. And also, when you say the equal rights, I'd say it's like a different rights, So, um, like they are all equally as a member of community. They work together, but then like according to their achievements or according to their contributions, according to the acknowledgements, the members can have uh, different rights or different uh, power or different privileges. But then it's not actually decided by one or two leaders, but more like decided from the community side. All the members can transparently, uh, understand why the, the people of privilege have that rights, because they can track and see what kind of contributions, how much of commitments they made for this community.
Right. Okay. So, were you able to also explain what does it mean by the community as a service, which is a
Mhm.
CaaS concept?
Yeah. So it's very, it's like many other software as a service type of businesses. The community as a service is a business concept of providing an easy to build technical system for communities of all size. So technically saying, you don't have to have any developers or any community specialized uh, managers to run a community online. So, through this community as a service package from CAN, um, you can you can build a lot of different types of autonomous communities very easily.
Okay.
So yeah, so that includes not only the communities but also the online services where they need a collective decision making or some collaborative mechanisms from different participants. Yeah. So for those kind of like services, they also utilize this CaaS, uh, community as a service. to build their own online services as well.
Right. So, I mean, so what I understand as well, I think you are also involved in there's this initiative called the Impact Collective,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which is I think the upcoming first cohort for this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's an
Yeah,
accelerator program for impact change, right?
right.
Yeah, and
So
how are you involved in that, and how Can Lab is actually involved in this initiative as well.
thank you. Yeah. Well, CanLab is actually helping a lot of different types of open innovations. You're providing the technological solutions for different groups. So Impact Collective is one of the projects that we are engaging in as well. So we're currently doing a lot of different experiments by applying our CAN Community Alliance Network system for different types of innovations from like social service sectors to tech innovations and venture capitals. So Impact Collective is a community-driven investment program for startups making positive impacts for Asia. And for this program, we support all the community emergence and community platform and community uh, service sectors. So, um, you know, this is a kind of why we call it community-driven investment is that it involves with a lot of different parties like domain experts and local experts and the judges from a lot of different VCs and accelerators, incubators, you know, all those community specialized community members are involved in the collective DD process. So that is why we call it community driven. And for to run this whole program and structure, we support the technical part. So we are like, partner with the VCs and then like, made this whole platform so that different startups and different mentors, experts, and judges are all like, you know, mm, working together towards the better world, having positive impacts.
Nicely said. Thanks for sharing on that part. And you touch on a word just now, tech, right? Like you all provide technical support, right? So, how can technologies assist in building a better community? Like, um, for your for your for your from your
Mm,
point of view as
yeah.
from blockchain, for example, because Can Lab is mostly on blockchain, right? So, how can actually blockchain technology assist in building a better community?
Good, good. Well, for long-lasting autonomous communities, we found like three factors are very important. One is recognition, the other is participation, and the rest is not. The rest is transparency. So those three factors are very like success keys to the community, and supporting those key factors is very easy with current technology, especially the blockchain. Using smart contracts and open data access, users can be recognized by uh, their participation, like even if it's like small participation or micro contributions. And the reputation as a result will be shared transparently to the entire community so that the other members and the community leaders can recognize them as well. So that is the basic start point of CAN. um, well, for example, we support a lot of different community building modules. The one is the reputation system called Crypto Badge, and the other is the another is the governance system, which is key for the collective decision making. Um, and another is the communication system, like forums and chats, so that a lot of different people can communicate seamlessly online. And the last part is the economics. So the token economy or the community fund management kind of stuff is really important. So we support all these four different pillars through blockchain technology.
Okay. And why is it beneficial to embark on open innovations?
Yeah, well, open innovation by its definition is a distributed innovation process, right? So it's cross sectoral, and it's beyond the business boundaries, and it needs a lot of interactions, not just internal interactions, but also the external interactions with uh, with communities of customers or creative customers or the users. So to achieve a positive disruption, always listening to different voices is a must, and the community is the best way to collect those voices. So that is why the autonomous communities will be very beneficial to drive open innovations.
So
And
are
that's
you
why we, yeah. Oh,
sorry,
go on.
go on, sorry.
Yeah, so that's why we work with a lot of, paradigm changing new concept projects together with NGOs and political parties in Korea, and the startups and angel networks, and also this venture capital thing.
And it's quite interesting that how uh, because I got information from you as well about a case study, right? Like a case study that
Mhm.
eventually how the government of Korea um, participate in this open innovations.
Pardon?
Sorry,
So,
in one of your points that shared with us that there are some cases include social actions
oh, right, right.
by Vake and especially participation on politics, right? So are
Right,
you able to
right.
share a
I'm
little
gonna
bit of
share
that
some stories.
a little bit on that part as well?
Sure. So, yeah, Vake is a social innovation uh, project, which is an open platform for social actions. So individual activists can, or any like citizens can be an activist on the platform. And this is like a paradigm change thinking. Uh, like usually the social campaigns are designed from the organizations, the charity organizations like NGOs, um, or some charity groups. So they design some campaign and just they recruit the donors. But then this is um, driving all these um, individuals who are interested in helping others, or just who want to make some social values. Um, they 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 voluntarily gather and create their own uh, campaigns uh, with their interests, and that is individual driven, the community driven social actions. And we support that through this online platform called Vake. And the other case, the Open Politics project, is actually closely, we are right now closely working with a political party in Korea. And they want to get more innovative ideas from the normal citizens. So we are creating this pilot projects to create a community to participate in policy making process. So
How,
we got the
how,
ideas through the citizens.
how long has it been how long has it been taken place in terms of this participating in the politics or like running campaign and stuff using the blockchain?
So Bake, um, the social innovation campaign that is actually um, right now working on the market. So the service is on beta stage. So we have users from all different corners of the Korea. Um, it's been about a year that we designed, and now it's working and like getting users. And for the open politics projects, it's very recent one. So only like you know uh, just a couple of months that we talked about it, and we had the uh, pilot test mode of the product ready. So I think it will be run, um, it will be available for the citizens of Korea probably in late August
How
after
receptive
the
how receptive is it even though it's on a beta test?
pardon, I'm sorry, I
I mean,
lost you a little bit.
how receptive it is by the politicians on the beta test or the beta version.
Well, actually, the whole idea was actually created by the political parties. So they really think they need this kind of like platform to listen to different voices and also get like make a better policies, because they know that they are very limited, because even they have a team of policymakers, but um, there are only like handful of people, so their experience might be very limited to a certain point. They want to hear, they think that the normal citizens are all they are all experts or something, or they're uh, ex- all experts in some category. So they want to reflect that kind of like background knowledge or experiences into the real life policies. Yeah. So they are very excited to see how it works. So yeah, even today we had a meeting with them, and it was really productive, and they are very excited to run the 4 to 5 different policy plans um, will be conducted on our test mode, and then it will be open up to uh, the best Korean citizens.
Okay, so I think we would like to know a little bit more about like I mean, why is it beneficial to embark on
Mhm.
open innovations? I mean, I think you mentioned one or two earlier, but are you able to like highlight a little bit on like what's the benefits on open innovations?
Well, yeah, open innovations is, um, as it is a distributed innovation and very, it can give you the creative solutions for different problems that you have, because you can listen to the consumers and communities and users directly, and they actually give you the seed of the ideation and the seed of uh, the the business opportunities. So this can be a positive disruption. I mean, sometimes it needs a lot of uh, courage to open up all the decision making process, or to make it transparent for your knowledge or your expertise. But then, once you overcome, um, you'll get more fruits from it. That, I think that is why a lot of, even large sized corporations nowadays, they have all this like open innovation labs or open innovation division to work with different tech startups or different consumer groups.
Mm, okay, yeah. So, um, why? The other question of mine is, how do you overcome issues of copyright and ownership in spurring open innovations?
Yes, I can, you know what?
I
I
think
can
I
talk
think I
about
think
this
I think this is one of the.
forever.
I think because we're talking about transparency, we're talking about like open innovation and autonomous community building, right? So because everyone has, like you mentioned earlier, everyone has the right, everyone has um, uh, the
Participate. Yeah.
the participation and how much they commit to it as well, right? So how would you able to overcome of any copyright issues or any and also ownership when it comes to open innovation?
Well, first of all, there's no best one solution for that, you know. So we're at the moment we think it, the best the the best solution that we can think of is the blockchain integration, supporting smart contracts connected to the copyright or the ownership of some of the ideas, like your fractional ownership of the idea or fractional ownership of the business opportunities, things like that. But this is more like a shared property. So if you are willing to conduct an open innovation approach to your business or groups, then it means that you have to admit that you will not be the sole ownership holder, but you have to share the opportunities and share the properties with the community, uh, which contribute to the original idea. So our focus is not about the ownership, but more like how to distribute the fruits to the right person or right groups, so that the contribution can keep going on. So that is why we implemented this smart contract blockchain technology, so that we can, collect all the participations or contributions, uh, and then we can redistribute the rewards or the returns to the right person as at a right level.
Right. Okay. So the next question that we have is, what are the roles of autonomous communities in open innovations?
Well, definitely, it's the main role will be opening up the dialogues for future innovations, like by sharing ideas and insights, feedbacks, learnings. So it's kind of like a shared experiences and expertise can drive a lot of creative innovations.
Right.
And that adds a lot of colors as well.
Sorry.
That adds a lot of colors to the future business and future opportunities.
For sure, for sure. How can we foster autonomous communities with different cultural differences?
Hmm. Well, you give me a lot of hard questions, but
But yeah, because I think
we,
there's a lot of people. I think a lot of people out there would, um, if they are not in the blockchain or in the blockchain community, there would be a lot of questions, right? So I think because of our topic tonight is about building autonomous community and open innovation. So I think this would be some of the questions that I think it helps us to understand a little bit more on
yeah,
what um, you guys are working on as well. Yeah.
I see. Well, yes, we are living in this like multicultural world. So we have a lot of like differences in different cultures. But the key will be just, be inclusive and also be independent. So the two are very different characters, but I think we have to respect the two angles. So first, be inclusive. So embrace all the differences, and that differences actually makes the colors, beautiful colors of the community. Um, but then, um, but then you have to give full independence of each cultural groups or each locals or each sector, so that they can also as a part and as a whole they can take a governance and they can control themselves independently so that they can contribute more for the future. So the two are very different, but they can be built wonderfully through this online collaboration, because one beauty of being online is that you can always be connected, and also you can be always log off, log out, right?
So I have one last question for you. um, um, what is your advice to the youth out there looking for a big break in entrepreneurship?
Wow. Can I be can I be an advisor for them? I don't think so. Because I still, looking for my own chance too. But yeah, we are all enthusiasts of something. I always, talking this to other people. So start from your enthusiasm and like don't think too much, just start, and also dream very big. um, you can build anything you really love, so just do it. And always it starts small, but setting the high goals will give you more in return. So I think dream big is not greedy thing, and dream big is not a kind of like a building a complex thing, but dream big is really important. So you know the enthusiast can do anything. So be enthusiast. That is my advice.
Thank you so much for your nice advice.
Um,
So we still have a bit of time, so I think it's good that we can just jump into the Q&A. There are some questions that is actually asked from our audience actually. Um, so I think some of these questions are not to say overlap, but I think there are some questions that we have touched on early on. But maybe are you able to give what are the examples of existing autonomous communities? I mean, Vake is not really a community. Vake is more of like a platform, right?
Mm.
Yeah. So, is there any existing autonomous communities?
Well, yeah, we can we actually we can see a lot. Like, think about the um the developers on GitHub. They are the autonomous communities, right? So they just contribute a clean code or a better code for better open source environments. And they work voluntarily on their own, and they have all the independence, and also they have all the rights to make decisions and uh, edit the code. So this is a perfect example of the existing autonomous community, I think. And another interesting example is the BTS fan club. They are actually, they're really a perfect example of the autonomous group. So, the community is always like very flexible. They're not a one whole organization of the fan club. There's no official fan club of BTS. They're very scattered and decentralized. So sometimes they gather together, sometimes they compete each other. Yeah, and also once they have this shared goal, like helping children in poverty under the name of BTS, and they gather all together from all over the world, and they just make a wonderful work. Like, they're like a genius marketer. So this kind of thing can be a good example, yeah, of autonomous community. And that's, the power of community as well.
Nice. So I think there's
Mhm.
another question from the audience as well. What are the benefits to an autonomous community versus a regular community? I think early on we did touch a little bit, but are you able to recap on this part as well?
Well, it's kind of like, having tons of different leaders. Being an autonomous communities, you can imagine that you have your clones, hundreds or 200s of different clones that you have. But just a normal community with the hierarchies or with the pyramid structure, always the community managers or the community leaders, they are the ones who contribute every details or times and efforts to the community growth. But if it's an autonomous system that you have, then you can encourage the members of the community to work with you and work for the community. So that is the beauty of autonomous community building.
Wow, you really make me feel like okay, let's maybe we should
So
jump on let's
yeah.
jump on to autonomous community building now. Okay, so there's a two questions. So the one question here is what are typical use case of it? Like um, this question is actually from Diane. Diane, if you are if you are able to ask the last question that you type, what are typical use cases of it? Are you able to further elaborate? You can actually unmute yourself.
Yeah, I was just wondering mainly the differences between the two, autonomous and the regular community. What are the benefits of the autonomous version, and why would someone want to start that versus a regular community?
Mhm.
All right. So I think we touched on that already, right? In terms of the
Yeah,
differences, but I think what I think she would like to know is there any uh,
use cases.
existing use cases that is already that you can compare?
Well, so this is like, a bit similar to the DAO examples that Songyi already gave as well.
But I think you
So
can
there are,
actually, if you're able to share what DAO actually means, because some of them may
oh
not
yeah.
attend.
So DAO is also an autonomous community. It's a decentralized autonomous organization. So yeah, DAO and autonomous community can be the similar terminology that we can use. And the use cases can be many. Take one of the example will be the Ethereum Foundation, where over 500 developers are contributing to the better Ethereum blockchain network. So they have this autonomous community, and they have this incentives and recognition systems and everything, so they can further contribute to the development phase. Another is like other use cases that I can imagine is that like um, mm, even like for the the a lot of like review communities can be the one of the example of the autonomous community as well. So those reviewers who give the organic reviews of the hospital or hotels or like restaurants or markets, they did not earn a lot from writing a review, but they share their experience so that other community members do not get any harms from or disadvantages from that. So this is actually, from their kind willingness. But then, yeah, we can say that this is another example of autonomous community works. So it's not like, we are pushing them like to write a review or write a good comment or write a bad comment, but they just do it on their will. So yeah, that kind of examples are also a good example. And nowadays, a lot of big corporations like motor companies or um, real estate companies or some like traditional retail companies, they have a lot of like open innovation programs as well. And they're I mean, some of them are not, but most of them are pretty, directing to the uh, autonomous governance, so that the startups or the teams who engage in can give ideas freely and also reflect that into the business as a test mode very independently. So that can be also another example.
Right. So there's one more question. I think this is the last question from one of the audience. How can communities that want more autonomy work together with their current governance to have a mutual understanding on certain issues? I
I
think
need
Nigel.
some.
I think Nigel is not in anymore. He dropped out for
Okay,
another call. Yeah.
is that one for autonomous work together with the current governance to have a mutual understanding well, yeah, it doesn't have to, make all the changes for the governance model. So this is more like a cultural and philosophical decision. So if you want to open up to the autonomy, then even with the current governance structure, you can just have more frequent feedbacks from the members, or you can have some more recognition tools, so that if somebody contribute to the certain work, then you can just appreciate it, and we can just make that acknowledgement to the wider community. That small step can be the first action for those current established community go towards the autonomy style.
Okay. Wow. That's all. I think it. I know. I can see that Eunielle has tried her best, and she's really having a lot of hard questions from us for tonight.
Yeah, this is kind of like writing a paper together. Maybe
But
we can write a paper after this.
yeah, with all the questions that we put in, right, so that
Yeah,
we can actually share. We can share autonomously as well.
right.
So yeah, so what we're gonna so yeah, I mean, thank you very much, Eunielle, for sharing, and just a recap before I jump into a next session, a very fun session with Eunielle. So just to recap, open innovation requires communities to work together, as what what you shared tonight about
Mhm.
your team effort in South Korea, right? The concept of how do you pronounce it? Is it SAS or CaaS? CAAS?
We call it's CAS, but you
CAS.
can
Okay.
say it.
Okay, CaaS. So the concept of CaaS is helpful in allowing organizations to listen to the target group and allows positive disruptions. The support from government or political parties is also crucial to allow open innovations to flourish, from the copyright or ownership issues to building an ecosystem for openness in innovative ideas and solutions. So these are just some of the recap, or some of the points that we're actually able to summarize from your sharing tonight. Um, yeah, so I think it's really interesting that we need to look into what autonomous community building is all about, and to really get to learn a little bit more along the way. So thank you very much, Eunielle, and we are jumping to the next session. So this is just a quick 5 minute session. Um, we call this the rapid fire session.
Okay.
So there are going to be some questions that it's going to be some fun questions. So you don't need to think too long. So just whatever comes in your mind, just answer it. There's no right, there's no wrong answer. So it's also for our audience to get to know a little bit more about you as well. Um, yeah. So question number one: favorite place to hang out?
Ah, mm, whiskey bar, wine bar. Yeah, I love wine and whiskey.
So you like wine and whiskey? Okay, cool. Question number two: how do you start a conversation with a stranger?
Hmm. Hello? I don't know.
Okay. Number three.
I'm not a conversation opener, but usually, they come to me.
I can see that. I can see that. So number three, what's your favorite K-pop band?
Oh, my K-pop band. Well, back then I was in teenager. I was a fan of H.O.T. I don't know if you guys know the group or not, but yeah, H.O.T. was one of my favorite. But now, I don't have a uh specific taste for a certain group, but I
Right.
just listen to a lot of different, yeah,
Okay.
idols, boy groups and girl groups.
So question number 4. What is the last book you read?
um, the last book I read, I couldn't finish it, but it was the surveillance the the surveillance capitalism. It's really thick book, but then it was about this, data surveillance and like, the capitalism and things like that. So it's kind of like a partially related to my job. So I was like reading it, but then I couldn't finish it.
Okay, maybe after this you need to try to catch up and to finish up the rest of it, maybe.
Yeah, probably. I'll try again.
So the last two questions. Do you do programming?
No, unfortunately. I tried. I tried to. I tried to learn it, but then I just gave up, and I thought, okay, this is only good for the genius people. So I'm more like a business side of person. So yeah,
Right.
but I really
Last,
want to.
which language? I mean, sorry, you really want to? You want to learn?
Hmm.
Which language
At
do you
some
actually
point,
want? Which language would you want to learn?
mm, oh, Spanish. Yeah, I really
Not,
want to learn
I mean
Spanish.
the coding
Oh,
language. You,
the coding language. Okay. Sorry. Yeah,
it's
I was actually
it, it's very
learning a
it's
little bit
very
of.
yeah, it's very confusing, right? Sometimes when we say what language are you learning,
Yeah,
so what coding language that you said you want to learn?
Python. I tried a little bit,
Hmm.
uh, but failed. So maybe I'll try it again.
Okay, right. So the last question. This is the last question, right? Kimchi or salads?
Kimchi.
Wow. Okay. Thank you very much, Eunielle. Thank you for your time. We really learned like a lot of things tonight about blockchain, about autonomous community building, and also get to know a lot more initiative that what you and your team is involved as well back in Korea, right? And also for those who actually want to know more about what Impact Collective what they do and when is the cohort for the accelerator program. Do maybe you Neil, you can type in the chat box the link. I think it's impactcollective.earth,
Earth.
EARTH. Yeah, so maybe you Neil can leave that comment down there. Yeah, for those who are startup founders or you are in a startup team and you are doing any kind of startup related to impact related or impact change, feel free to check them out and get more information. Right, you can reach out to Eunielle as well. Okay, yeah. So that's all for tonight. Thank you very much, everyone, for watching and listening to us.